because you're vibrating at a different frequency than the heavens. You don't feel that because you don't get all that, juicy stuff that happens in the psychic being and unsubtle planes. But what you do get is the truth of what I speak, of the nature of you as being the supreme being itself. So I can't help but teach that. I know I'd be more successful, and I've tried it, to teach from the God plane. But, it has an artificial quality to it for me that it's incomplete because it's still Maya, yoga Maya, and it's endlessly seductive and it's infinite. And you'll never come out of it if you don't want to, if there isn't an aspiration. And I'll tell you why. Because it leaves behind the darkness. It leaves behind the Asat. And ultimately, our purpose is to meet and transmute the Asat in order to lift not only our saṃskāric patterns and our ancestral lineages, but to create freedom for them and all that we are linked to indirectly through our piece of the collective consciousness. Our work is to enter into the Holocaust where these things of the God plane have no direct relevancy other than like taking a drug or going to the bar, taking a break. But there is a role for them because they make it easier for the human to tolerate the work of meeting that which we and most of humanity do not know how to be in the right relationship with, the Asat. Because in the Asat, when we meet it, it's a no, it's a repulsion. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to know this. I want to be anyplace else but here. I want to heal it. I want to change it. That isn't the work. The work is to learn to move into a relationship to that piece of yourself that's carrying the collective error and recognize it too needs its time. It too needs to live out or express out energetically, if nothing else, what is still not been given permission to exist. But I want you to be clear that there's a uniqueness in this teaching. I teach of the nature of Sat and Asat. And many spiritual teachers don't recognize or don't speak to what that means, how that translates into your own relationship with God and existence. The Sat is an absolute. It doesn't exist within existence in the way we would know existence. It could not exist being all there is. So it had to create, just in that intent, when it created the Tat, it created the Asat, the not Sat. These two principles live above and below. Our human body is organized from the below to the above. We stand on the earth, which is the below, which is an expression of the Asat. And we look to the stars, to the heavens, which are an expression, an allegory of the Sat. Our body is the place where the two can come together. Without the Asat, the not Sat, of the physical matter, and the biochemistry that creates the emotional body, and the neuroelectrical activities of the body itself, we would not know ascension. We wouldn't know anything. We would only know what was possible within the framework of the times we were born in that would allow us to survive as a species or not. But the movement allows for us to be, as awakened human beings, the intermediary between these two principles. We bring that which obscures with that which enlightens, and we bring them together in our consciousness until they come into our bodies. It can come into our bodies because inherent in the Asat is also the Sat. And inherent in the Asat is this evolutionary impulse, even though it's bound, very bound. And it strives to wake up. It strives to come out of its bondage. And that lives in each of us as in the cells in the organization of our vital emotional body and the organization of our mental body. So it is that which brings the aspiration, the longing, the wanting to become more than what we are. So even our desire, even our self-serving desire, is to have more, is to have different, to have learn and grow in different ways that serve our ego so it be. But the principle is still true. The Asat brings an awakening from below that comes to join in to something that also is unknowable, just like the Sat and the Asat are unknowable from any way of knowing that we know. We can only know it through everything else. And they come together and they join in the middle of our body, the third chakra. And it's here that a fire gets ignited. So I'm here to teach you. I'm here to bring the teachings I was taught. Not just Sri Atmananda, not just Sri Aurobindo, although they're comrades, souls that have been traveling something of the same distance as many of my other mentors that I've apprenticed myself to in the course of my life. They too were here to serve the world. This is the only thing that ever really inspired me beyond my own personal organization for the world. Because some part of me could feel the cry. Some part of the good wholeheartedness, that one fraction of my personality was true, brought me here, as it brought you. Do we have a choice? No. But it's good to imagine you have a choice, because the ego's pretty stubborn if it doesn't feel they got to choose it. But you chose. So even parts of your ego chose. And that you brought some preparation, some readiness, some recognition or experience of this teachings. That is, have you join me in this. I assure you, it's co-creation. I spent the last month, much like probably Yannicka and the core team, in kind of a state of existential stress. That's exactly what happens. The now is very uncomfortable for a human ego. We call that stress a dejecting process, a dejecting. It's not a simple thing, because you're standing in the threshold between existence and non-existence, right where the Supreme Being stands. And what comes through you makes you vulnerable, makes you uncertain, makes you confused and disturbed, makes you, if you had a choice, to abandon ship, to not show up. That's a dejection. Dejection is the mother of creation. It is out of the obscurity, it's out of the Asat, that anything new came into this existence in this dimension. But I knew it. I knew it because long ago I went beyond tamas, long ago I went beyond dejection, long ago I went beyond rajas and sattva. I conquered the gunas. It wasn't that I conquered them, I just discovered I had authority greater than the one they had over me. And I started using those, recognizing that the samadhis were the tamas, the absolute, still, unchanging. That the rajas was the transmission, was the force of the Supreme itself, seeking to manifest itself, to grow. And the sattva was the infinite peace, freedom, silence, and stillness. That's the foundational principle of which all of this arises. So they became my familiar territories. And as I began this work, whatever reason threw me out of the envelope of my teachers and gurus in the Middle Kingdoms and mantras and chantings,
And what became revealed was the original teaching of the purpose and what it means and how I had to become it, and now how you have to become it. So I assure you that the wisdom you carry that allow you to know this is in your own story. It's in your own experience. It's in what you've already lived this life. Only you've been looking at it through a smaller lens, a lens of the past rather than the lens of this possibility. So the invitation here is to take a context and realize that what has arisen as you in your course of your life was the teaching, the same as my teaching, to prepare you for being here. That it all served, that all continues to serve. When you share your story, in whatever may be arising in the immediacy, you open the space for the listening, because we're all made up of story. We all have our stories. When your story is true and naked, when it's open and vulnerable, when it's the real thing, people know it. So our story becomes an avenue by which we can create a context first for yourself for what you're becoming. Then to watch how the universe uses you in the world around you. Watch the impact you're making, because now you're awake enough to be responsive, to become responsible for how you're impacting the world, where you start owning why everybody who was your friend now hates you, why your parents are thinking they want to institutionalize you if they could get a chance. Why? Because you are bringing something that's beyond this creation.